Welcome back to the show. Let's talk to Budgie Wright, Senior Real Estate Consultant, Barbican Square Limited. Morning to you, Budgie.
Morning, miss.
I was a tad late in this morning, got stuck at East Croydon, platform 5, looking out, and obviously major developments around East Croydon. And my question to myself is, what type of people are moving into these flats? So I think they were building 30, 35,000. It just struck me that these are very expensive in a neighbourhood that I'm not sure, how it all works, because Croydon is obviously, dare I say it, a lot of jokes are made about Croydon. Is this the time and place to be in Croydon?
I think we talked about this probably 2 years ago when it was a boom place to be buying, and I think prices have demonstrated that over that period of time. 2-3 years ago when we first started talking, there were a lot of businesses starting up there. There still are. It's become a kind of tech centre, a bit like the old street roundabout, but further out.
Right.
And as you say, it's not necessarily the most attractive place to be living if you're looking for herds of wildebeest sweeping majestically across the landscape, as Basil Fawlty once would have said. But the fact is, it is, without delays, an easy place to get to central London. There's business there. It's not the pricing that you find in prime central London. So when beggars can't be choosers, as we know, it is a very good and viable alternative. The question is whether there's been overinvestment in development there, and whether there will be a glut, as we had spoken about again back in that period, that there may be an oversupply. But that does lead to the ability to buy things at good values for the longer term. And another thing that we talked about was, I remember when I bought in Docklands 20 years ago, people saying, well, why would you go there? There's nothing there. There never will be anything there. It's a hole and it's nowhere near central London. Well, time has proven that that's not the case.
Right. You've always said on the show it's all about supply and demand, and there's an absolute imbalance in the UK PLC, particularly in London. What's actually happening since Brexit in the last year? Because there's different surveys giving different pictures, okay? Me as a house owner, what advice would you give to me generally?
I still fundamentally believe in buy and hold in central London. Over any extended period, we've only seen growth and continued growth. There is obviously a question as to whether affordability is going to be the issue that brings the market down and makes it crash. I don't necessarily believe that. I think that the people who can't afford, unfortunately, get cycled out, and people who can afford move in. We still have a structural imbalance, although Persimmon, you saw, came out with figures. I think revenues are up 12%, profits up 30% year on year to June. So the house builders are having a good time, or some of the house builders are having a good time at the moment. We did talk about it last week, saying that the forecasts are for not so good next year, and the uncertainty with Brexit, the uncertainty and the issues caused by stamp duty are still biting in places in central London. But then people are just moving out along the Lizzie line, for example, West Drayton, Abbey Wood. The affordability is greater there, as you said, Croydon. So my view is, if you can afford to hold in central London, you do so. If you can't, and you can afford the transactional costs, you look further afield along those lines where demand is going to continue to outstrip supply.
Right. What's hot and what's not hot in your eyes right here, right now?
Well, trophy London is not hot. You saw further evidence on Friday of the Chinese authorities cracking down on, I think, what they called irrational investment overseas. They want to stem the outward flow of money from China, and to that end, the the Nine Elms Square deal, which was done with Dalian Wanda Dalian, has been put over to a third party because they don't have the funds, can't get the funds offshore. However, it was done with a Chinese party that do have funds offshore, RNF Properties. So I think that illustrates that the Chinese are in particular clamping down on overseas investment. So where they would be natural investors, there might be some degree of hesitation, and that has been sort of the Docklands area and the Nine Elms area. But I say I would look out as far as Slough, I would look out towards Reading, I'd look out towards Ilford, along the Elizabeth line, Manchester and Leicestershire, Derbyshire are still hot for buy-to-let investors.
Right.
So the Midlands and northern cities are still of interest. They still provide a better yield, but you've got to do the work. It's harder.
Give me a final thought on property.
Final thought, next 12 months, it's going to be very turbulent. I don't think it's going to be a disaster, but I think you need to be prudent and you need to buy for the long term.
Buy for the long term. Budgie Wright, thank you very much indeed.